Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of Neuroculture, and our guest on this episode is someone who has been a fan of apparently our stuff for a bit, and is a huge, you're a Trekkie. But anyway, hey, that's neither here nor there. Please welcome Tyler Attico to the set. Derek, how are you, my man?
Hey, Ryan, I'm glad to be here. Happy that you are having me here. I really love your show. I was just watching the show with Michael Jan Friedman last night, actually. So, yeah, I'm really a fan of your show.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Now, if you have any questions for Derek as we go throughout the course of this episode of And I Quote, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Our producer's going to be keeping an eye on that as we go throughout the course of this very broadcast. But in the meantime, Derek, what were some of your favorite books and or writers growing up?
Oh, my gosh. My mom steeped me in the classics. So growing up, I was steeped in like Dumas. I remember loving The Count of Monte Cristo, Shakespeare. I loved Macbeth. I loved Hamlet, Othello, of course. I branched out though on my own kind of as a kid, because that's what she would read to me, and then I started reading that on my own. But then I branched out, so a lot of Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, that really like captivated me. Towards like college, I really got into Tom Clancy, and I just like absorbed everything of Tom Clancy, everything he wrote. I just loved his attention to detail, and I think a lot of that actually, his pacing and just what he does stuck with me as a writer today.
Good titles, man. You're going back a few years. No, wait, you're going back a few centuries.
A few centuries.
Some of these titles are authors, but hey, it's all good. There's 31 flavors for everybody. It's like Baskin Robbins when it comes to literature. What would you say are some of your favorite movies or TV series, past or present?
Man, you're talking to a film. I started in film, so I'm a big film buff. And when I say I started in film, what I mean by that is the first thing I ever wrote was I was about 16 years old, and I wrote a script. It was actually a Star Wars script, oddly enough, and it won an award from the Dramatist Guild of America. And so from there, I worked on some independent films. Oh my God, favorite films or TV shows. I mean, you know, there's some good stuff out today. I was recently catching up with the Last of Us. Right, that's really good. If you want to go old school, there's this old show, Airwolf, like the first season, which was really good, really old, good show. Very 80s craziness, but a good show. Wise Guy, which was one of the first television shows to have like continual sequential storytelling within, within it. Ken Wall, really good stuff. Films, I mean, oh my God. Like I said, I can go back from Citizen Kane, anything Hitchcock, pretty much anything Orson Welles. Touch of Evil is a really good film. We could go on and on, man, you know.
Well, as someone who grew up watching movies myself, I've been a film buff since I was like, gee whiz, like 3. So
right.
I'm with you on that. I'm just curious, though. You mentioned someone by the name of Hitchcock. What's your favorite Hitchcock film?
Oh man, it changes. It changes from time to time.
Day, you know,
it does. I mean, I think Hitchcock hits you at different times. Spellbound is good. I really like North by Northwest. I think that's close to a perfect film. You know, from the music, the acting, the direction, everything's really good with that. Psycho is just a beautiful film. Just to analyze and go back and look at what he's doing with Psycho and the birds. I mean, but I probably right now North by Northwest. I haven't looked at anything of Hitchcock in a while, and I need to do that. Like, it's always good to, like, especially as a writer, if you're into film, cleanse your palate, go back to the greats, and just kind of refamiliarize yourself with those guys. You know.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. For me, for Hitchcock, my favorite is Rear Window.
Oh man. Oh.
I think that film is great. I mean, I'll throw in Psycho, because Psycho, I think, is one of his best. For
Right.
Sure. Also,
Isn't that Jimmy Stewart?
Yeah. Well, Rear Window is Jimmy Stewart and Grace.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful, and the whole thing takes place in like one. You know, he's in the wheelchair and he's watching out the window. It's a dope film. It's dope.
It is. It is. Rear Window is great. North by Northwest is a good call. That was Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint.
That's right. That's right.
They had a big climax out. What was it? Mount Rushmore. I think there was a
Mount
climax.
Rushmore. Vertigo's another good one. Vertigo's really good.
You know, you see, here's my problem. Vertigo is a very depressing.
And
I mean depressing.
It is, and it's a little off kilter.
It's a few French fries short of a Happy Meal.
It is.
I believe Jimmy Stewart's the lead in that.
Yeah.
Him like being obsessed with his girlfriend, and then he finds a woman who's like her doppelganger, and then her a little bit. I'm thinking, there's really no one to root for in this.
No,
like,
no,
the woman is a bit dirty. The man is abusive.
Right.
I can't. No. So for me, a lot of people put, you know, what is it called? Vertigo on the Mount Rushmore as far as their favorite Hitchcock. And that's okay. Listen to your own. But for me, Vertigo it's out of there. I wouldn't even.
Really? That's interesting.
I watched it once and I thought, okay, I'm depressed now. I'm not going to watch this ever again. Sorry.
And doesn't Spellbound have the scene by the artist Salvador Dali? Doesn't have that whole dream sequence?
Maybe, but here's my problem. I have yet to see Spellbound.
Oh, what? Oh, that's a really good film. Yeah,
I'm off the beaten path here. I got to see that because Hitchcock has made like 50,000 movies and I've only seen probably like a dozen of them. I got a lot, believe me. Yeah. But good calls though. Yeah. On some of the Hitchcock films, as well as who was the other one? Orson Welles is another.
I love Orson Welles. I love him. As a kid, he was like someone that I just was captivated and transfixed by. You know, everything he wrote, everything he did. I mean, the pullback scene in Touch of Evil is like a 5-minute pullback scene from the opening of the film to 5 minutes into the film. It's one shot, and you know, people applaud that now, but he was doing it, you know, in like the 60s, you know. So I mean, you know, it's great.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. My goodness gracious. So you kind of hinted at it a moment ago, but I'm just curious. When did you start becoming a writer yourself? When did it start for you?
Well, I would say it probably started when I first saw Star Wars, George Lucas's Star Wars, right? I mean, the original Episode 4. I was a little kid, and that Star Destroyer went over my head, and I think a lot of people were captivated by the story and by the effects and everything. But for me, I wanted to know how all that was done. I wanted to know who George Lucas was, you know, what was directing, how was he writing this story. And so I just became captivated with him. And I was already captivated, like I said, with Orson Welles even before that. And so I just like moved over from Welles to Lucas. And I just started reading everything and about his influences from Japan and Akira Kurosawa. And then I got into Kurosawa and I just learned writing. And I just started buying books on, I started buying. My mom took me to bookstores and I started getting books on, I was, you know, I was a kid. And started getting me books on like writing and stuff. And I just started writing. So my first script was actually a Star Wars script. And I would go, like I was a kid with a paper route. So every Sunday after my paper route, I would after with the profits, I would go to the movies. So, you know, I was enjoying myself, but I was also learning story structure, you know, and I would see like about, I think like 2 movies every Sunday, and that's like every Sunday for like 4 or 5 years, man, and that's steady going in here, So I came out a writer, unbeknownst to me, So.
Right, and that is some incredible stuff. And once again, we are talking with sci-fi writer Tyler Attico on this episode of And I Quote. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. If you have any questions for Derek, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Be more than happy to hear from you. Yeah, Star Wars, the original, I can watch that movie any day of the week. Twice on Sunday. Doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, how many times I can quote it, because we've seen it, you and I and many others who may be watching or listening to this, we've seen that movie so many times we can quote it back to you word for word.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah, you don't even have to look at the screen. It could be on in the background. I'm like, yeah, I know what part they're at. Yeah,
right, right, exactly. I mean, it's a phenomenal film. It's Lucas at his heyday. And as writers go, I think young writers, you can learn a lot from his pacing and what he's doing. I mean, there were things that I think he could do better. His writing of women sometimes. But that aside, you can't deny his brilliance, and he's a visionary, and I like you said, I watch it today and I think it's phenomenal. The animated show Rebels is as close in writing style to Star Wars as anything I've seen. It's just a phenomenal piece of work.
And now we're about to get a sequel to Rebels with Ahsoka. Very soon, which is a lot of people have been calling, what is it, Rebels Season 5. So, hey, bring it on, son. I'm all for it. Because for someone who didn't really know much about a character known as Ahsoka Tano, I didn't watch any of the Clone Wars because it just didn't whet my appetite at the time. But Rebels comes out, watch all 4 seasons. I was there from the beginning all the way up until the end when it was airing originally on Disney XD. Remember that? Yeah.
That's right.
Disney XD. I was there.
That's right.
I watched it and I see her walk through the door with her Fulcrum outfit. And I'm thinking, who is this? What's this?
Who is this?
And then she takes on Darth Vader / Anakin in the temple, and I'm thinking, oh, this is deep.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
And then as soon as that battle was over, and she kind of like walks away with tears in her eyes, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm a bit more curious about her. What's she all about? And then she shows up in real life in Mando Season 2. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, Rosario, hello there.
Right. Hello there. Right, exactly.
Lay the smackdown on evil's candy backside, and I will watch that show any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I got no problem with that.
Well, that's creating that's taking the time to create a character that has depth and that has a staying power. I mean, Ahsoka, they followed that character from when she was a Padawan. Basically, I would imagine. Earth equivalent, probably like around 8 or 9 or somewhere around there, maybe 10 years old, if not younger, probably younger, to a full-grown adult woman. And to see her arc and to see that character's arc and everything that's going on, that's just really good writing. That's what writing is about. That's what writing is supposed to be and supposed to do. When you can take a character, plot, I always say plot is character, character is plot. So Ahsoka is a perfect example of that.
That's a fair point. Actually, the Clone Wars is turning 15 this year, so
right.
A lot of it's a lot of history. Historical documents, that's what they're called.
Right.
They're not all historical documents, though. But I'm just curious. You mentioned this a moment ago, but I am curious. Are there any Star Wars novels that you enjoy reading? And have you read the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston by any chance?
I have not. I need to put that on my list. I used to absorb Star Wars novels again as a kid. Anything I get my hands on, Splinter the Mind's Eye, the Han Solo Legacy series, all of that. And then I kind of dropped off. And then I remember picking up Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire, which is phenomenal work. Just phenomenal work. I read the first one, and then I went and purchased the other 2 and read them and finished all 3 in a weekend. I was just at Gen Con, and I was signing some of my own work, and I was fortunate enough to be sitting next to John Jackson Miller, who's done Star Wars and Star Trek novels, and he's a phenomenal writer and an awesome human being. And he and I were talking, and he just does some phenomenal work. His Star Wars stuff is great. His Star Trek stuff is great. So that was a lot of fun. But I haven't gotten into a lot of, I think, Star Wars stuff as of late, only because I've been doing a lot of Star Trek stuff. But I would love to jump back into, just as a reader, to get back into the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. I actually just started reading some Star Wars novels myself, so I'm new to this thing known as Star Wars novels because it's a deep rabbit hole, folks.
It is, but it's fun.
Very
It's fun.
deep, like deeper than the Marianas Trench, I would venture to say. But of the novels I've read thus far, I've enjoyed every journey up to this point. So I can send you some lists and titles here in the backstage area of this show. But with that being said, on the positive side, what do you think are some of the biggest rewards about being a writer?
Oh wow. Well, I think one of the probably the first biggest reward and honor is being able to tell stories that, you have these ideas, in your head, and you say to yourself, oh, this is a great idea, let me take this idea and forge this into a story, and then let me present that story to the world. So it takes a lot to take an idea, then forge it into a story, and into a story that anyone could read, whether they're in Japan, or whether they're in Australia, or whether they're in the Bronx, New York. Anyone could read, and then to get feedback that people enjoyed that story. I think for me, that's very rewarding. So it's rewarding on both ends. It's rewarding for me to be able to get something that I enjoy and I like, and get it out of my head, and then after it's out and out in the world, you send that offspring out into the world. Go out in the world and do your thing, and it does its thing, and then people come back and say, hey, I enjoyed that thing you did. It brought me pleasure for whatever reason, or I liked it, or I want to discuss it with you, or I didn't like it, and here's why. Any of that is fine with me, because even if it sparks conversation in any capacity, I'm cool with that, because I think that's what this is about. That's what the human condition is about. Is we're expanding, and we're reaching to new heights and having intellectual discourse about that. So if I can contribute to that with my own stories, that's a good day.
So in other words, we are going to boldly go.
Basically, right.
Has gone before. Not to borrow a line from another pop culture phenomena, which we'll get to here in a moment. But hey, I just thought I'd throw that out there as an example. On the opposite side of the fence, though, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges about being a writer?
Oh man. Biggest challenges. I think writers are in their own heads a lot. I think confidence is really big for writers. I know for me personally, I would say get out of my own head. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll write something and be like, oh, it's no good, and throw it away, and then I'll come back to it like maybe a week or a month later. I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But I was in my head at that moment, and being very critical of my own work. So sometimes I think writers are very, very critical of their own stuff. I know I am very critical, because I want to present something that I want to present the best thing I can to the public, because that thing is going to be out there, hopefully long after I'm dust, man. So I'm right. So I'm trying to present the best thing, and because of that, I think I'm in my own head too much. Even in this explanation, I'm in my own head too much. So.
Well, there's an old saying: we are our own worst critic.
It's very true. It's very true. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to remove that from the equation. Just put your best foot forward and have fun with it. Because if you can't have fun with it, why do it at all?
Right. Exactly.
It's one of those old sayings, What's not old? What is not old is this new episode of And I Quote with sci-fi writer Tyler Attico. If you like what you see and you like what you hear, don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. If you have any questions for Derek, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Be more than happy to take them for you as they come in. I do want to share something with you now. Turning the tide. This is a bit of an interesting play on words. Maybe it's not so much a play on words. I'm just curious. How did this come about? How did you get involved in this?
This was a lot of fun. So I'm a member of the International Association of Media Tie-in Writers, and so what that is once you've started doing work in the media tie-in world, and media tie-in meaning that you've written something that has to do with some sort of media tie-in. For example, Star Trek, Star Wars, anything that's out there in the world, and then we start doing short stories, novelizations for it, media tie-in. So I'm a member of that because I've done some short stories for Star Trek, Alpha and Omega, and The Dream of the Dream were two short stories I did for Star Trek. I'm the author of the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, Deep Space Nine Captain, which is coming out October 10th. And I'm honored to have been able to write his autobiography. So I'm a member of the International Association, IAMTW, and so they wanted to launch their own anthology series, which was great. And so what they wanted to do was launch an anthology series, but they wanted to use characters that were in public domain. Right, so that was great because we can't really mess with, we can't use like we can't use Star Trek and Star Wars and those other characters, but we can touch and play with characters in public domain. So there were some phenomenal stories in here: Frankenstein, Captain Nemo, Dracula, that kind of thing. For my story, I created a contemporary Sherlock Holmes in modern day, and it's a Sherlock Holmes of color. And instead of 221B and a half Baker Street in London, he lives at 221B Baker Avenue in the Bronx. And there is actually a Baker Avenue in the Bronx. And this Holmes is in his mid-20s, and the Watson is in his late 30s, early 40s. And there's that dynamic going on between them. And it's a play on the first Sherlock Holmes story, which is a study in scarlet, and mine's is a study in crimson.
Wow. It's, in the words of a popular property, fascinating.
Fascinating, right?
We're all doing our best here, folks. We're all doing our best here. No, that's really cool stuff. Congratulations on that. And you mentioned it a moment ago, so let's dive into that. The autobiography of a character by the name of Benjamin Sisko. For those who may not be in the know of what is known as Star Trek, it's only been around for like 5-6 decades. How did this come about, and what character did this come from originally? What series is this based off of?
Okay, so I'll answer the last question first. This is based on the series Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which was the third series in the lineup. So there was the original series, which was Kirk and Spock. Then it was The Next Generation, which was Picard. And then after that, it was Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which was Benjamin Sisko on a space station, Deep Space Nine. And that ran for 7 years, from 93 to 99. How I got the gig was I wrote a Star Trek Deep Space Nine short story in the Star Trek Strange New Worlds anthology for 2016. And it was a Benny Russell story. Now, Benny Russell was a character in one of the episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine that was a writer, a Black writer in the 1950s that was writing Star Trek. So I wrote a story about him. That story did really well. Powers that be heard about the story, read the story, liked the story. And when it came time for the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, they thought about me for this autobiography. So they came to me, and we had some talks, and I was fortunate enough to get this gig to create the origin story of Benjamin Sisko. Now, Benjamin Sisko, as I said, is the captain of Deep Space Nine. And what I do is, let me see what I can talk about without stepping on stuff. I basically talk about his life. I won't say exactly how I do that, but I talk about his life. If you are a viewer of the show, you may understand why I'm being a little hesitant about how I'm speaking, because there was, in the manner we left Sisko at the end of the series was very different than anything that had been seen before on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. One of the plot points and story points on Deep Space Nine was that Sisko made contact with he found a wormhole which connected the Alpha Quadrant, where Starfleet and the Federation is, to the Gamma Quadrant. And inside of that wormhole were these wormhole aliens that the Bajoran people called the Prophets, and they exist outside of linear time. And drama ensues on Star Trek Deep Space Nine because of this, from season to season. I really can't. I can only go but so far in what I'm saying here. But drama ensues on the series, and in the autobiography. What I do is I cover Benjamin's life, his origin story, his family, and a lot of why and how Benjamin became the man that he is, the man that we see as a captain on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
My goodness gracious, it's heavy.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I would venture to say that.
Yes! That's awesome!
I mean, there's nowhere to go but up with that. I mean, honestly,
Hopefully,
that
right?
is so
Hopefully.
cool. That is so that's awesome. That's great. I am curious though. I don't know how much you can say about this or not. Did you have a chance to sit down with the actor who portrayed this character?
I did not. You know, a few people have asked me that, and I did not. That would have been, that would have been fantastic to sit down with Mr. Avery Brooks. Would have been fantastic. I did not. I basically had to work off of my ability and skill as a writer. At one point, I did try and watch other shows that he's done. I mean, this is an actor that's really well known. He's done Othello. He's done the Tamburlaine. He was I think very well known for playing the character of Hawk in Spencer for Hire, and then he had his own spin-off of that show, A Man Called Hawk. But I found that I really couldn't watch anything else because he's such a good actor that he wasn't really bringing anything else into that I could use. When he plays Benjamin Sisko, when Mr. Brooks, Avery Brooks, plays Benjamin Sisko, he's doing something totally different than he's done in other television shows or other projects. So I could only use Star Trek Deep Space Nine to kind of peer into him and peer into his soul and see what I wanted to pull out from that and get into the core of who he was and just trying to peel all that back. Because when you're writing an autobiography, it's not just writing elements of what we know, but it's peeling it back. It's finding out what events forged that person, what created that person, how did they become who they became, what transpired in their life, good and bad, that set them on certain paths to be the person that, the mythical hero that we like. So thus far in the biography series from Titan Books, which has been phenomenal, we've seen the biographies of Captain Kirk, we've seen the biographies of Mr. Spock, Captain Picard, and Captain Janeway. So we've seen their lives, and now to build the life of a Starfleet captain, I have to go back and think about, well, what happens in that person's childhood, and what happens in that person's life that forges that man as an adult.
Man, Incredible stuff. And what else is incredible is this episode of And I Quote with Tyler Attico at the helm. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you are joining us live on the replay, thank you for being here. And do not forget to like and share this episode with all of your closest friends, because they're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode. I guarantee it. Gee whiz. So you've done some collaborations in the past. I'm just curious, though. A bunch of folk over there who are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, known as Crazy 8 Press, because we were talking about him in the green room. What's it like been collaborating at times with Crazy 8 Press? What has that experience been like for you thus far?
A lot of fun. Crazy 8 Press is just a lot of fun. I can't say enough about Crazy 8 Press. They've I've done a lot of. Let me see now. I've done, I think, 3 anthologies with Crazy 8 Press. I've done Badass Moms. I've done. I can't even remember them all. Oh my gosh. Actually, I have them. I don't even have to remember them. I've done Thrilling Adventure Yarns, the Badass Moms one I don't have on me, and we have one that we are currently pushing. It's on Kickstarter right now, actually, I believe. Grandma got the title is Grandma got abducted by aliens and other holiday disasters, and the premise and the idea for it is it's short stories. It's an anthology of short stories dealing with events that happen around holidays of all types and also all sorts. And I think Michael Jan Friedman was talking a little bit about this in the interview with you. For me, the event, the holiday that I chose to write about is Cyber Monday, and a worker at a worker at a internet giant called Colossus finds out that certain workers are trying to basically sabotage the computer systems there, and insert a rogue AI so that they can siphon off billions of dollars on Cyber Monday. So it's kind of my my homage in some ways to Die Hard. I've always wanted to see what I would do as a challenge to writing something that's very much like Die Hard, because I think Die Hard has been done well. I think Die Hard, well, obviously the original Die Hard was phenomenal, and the Die Hard series. But I think other films and even television shows, including Star Trek, actually has done Die Hard well, and there's sometimes it's been done poorly. So I wanted to see if I could do a Die Hard story and what that would be like. So where that Kickstarter is, I believe that Kickstarter is ending today. So we're looking for contributions so we can make that happen, so we can make that book come to you. And it has some of the top names in science fiction right now. Keith DeCandrio, I believe Dayton Ward is in on it. Just Michael Jan Friedman, everyone from Crazy 8, Mary Fan, Aaron Rosenberg, everybody from Crazy 8 is in on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun if we can get that Kickstarter funded fully. Then we can write those stories and bring it to the fans.
Gee whiz, Cyber Monday turned on its head via Die Hard.
Right.
Gosh, I mean, do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Yippee-ki-yay, blankety blank. Can't say the rest. But gee whiz. All right, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea, and I do hope it gets funded. Wish you and the team over there at Crazy 8 Press the best of luck. The link for that Kickstarter is located within the description of the episode that featured Michael Jan Friedman, I believe. So check that out. It's on our YouTube page. It's on our Facebook page and other forms of social media, which are found in the links of the description of our videos. So feel free to check those out as you may. So that's really good stuff. But I am curious, though, have there been any special memories for you from being at conventions, whether you were there as a vendor or there as an attendee, that stand out?
Oh man, yes. I mean, I love talking to fans. I love just engaging with people. I remember the first time when I wrote my first professional story, which was Star Trek Alpha and Omega, and it was my first professional sale. This was 2005. And so I went to the shore leave convention for that after that. And this woman comes up to me, and she is in a wheelchair. She could not use her legs at all, and she was in a wheelchair. And she came up to me, and it was a Saturday night, and we were at the section of the convention called Meet the Pros, which is usually like on a Saturday, sometimes Friday or Saturday nights. And so where we have our books lined up, and we meet and greet, and we sign editions. So she tells me, she says, I bought this last night, and I stayed up and read your story because I wanted to be able to talk to you about it, and have you sign it. And that just blew me away. I was like, well, who the hell am I that you're reading my story? And I just felt really humbled and grateful, that somebody would take the time to do that. And I'll never forget, I received an email once from a gentleman that told me that that's actually that same story. I'm sorry, the Sisko story, the Sisko short story. He told me he was reading it to his son every night, but he was only reading it like a little bit of it, like a chapter of it, not even a chapter at a time, so that he could stretch it out. And to hear those kind of things is incredible. I never thought I would get that kind of feedback. That's incredible. So for me, those are the things that I will always remember and cherish from conventions, or just from fans in general.
That's fantastic stuff, and we've had the privilege of being at Shore Leave the last number of years. So if you want more information on that, go to shore-leave.com for more information on that, to find out the dates for the next show. Some of the guests that are going to be there, they'll announce, a little bit later on as it gets a bit closer to the event. So it's in July, in the summertime, in Hunt Valley, Maryland, just in case anyone's wondering. But it's a great event. It's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of great people there. You get to meet some. You get a chance to make some new friends, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that. So
absolutely,
check them out. Great people. It's www.shore-leave.com. And if you check out some of our previous vlogs featuring Shore Leave, those links are located within the description of those videos, respectively. So check them out, and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Do all that wonderful, incredible, fancy stuff. It's beautiful.
That's right.
It's great.
Do it all.
Yeah, just do it all. Seriously. What advice would you give to aspiring writers here, Derek?
Oh, wow. I always try and give, what advice would I give? I try and give, if I'm going to give advice, something that will be useful for a writer. I would tell them discipline is important. Whenever someone says this to a writer on a TV show or something, the writer usually says, write every day and read. And those things are true. But I think what they don't explain is why, right? So write every day. You want to write every day because writing is a muscle. And the more you write, the better you will get at it, for sure. But you need discipline. And what discipline does is it keeps you writing when you don't want to write. It keeps you writing when there are things crashing down around you. The professional writer, the writer that sells, the writer that gets books published is the one that writes when everything is crashing down around him or her or them, but they're still writing every darn day. In regards to reading, the reason I think people say to always read is because one of the ways you learn, one of the primary ways we learn on this planet is through reading. And if you like another writer, read their work. But what I would add to that is, if there's someone you don't like, read their work. Because what happens is, as you accumulate tools as a writer, you need to know what you like, you need to know what you don't like, you need to know what works, and you need to know why for all of that. And before you can break rules or push the boundaries of rules, you have to know those rules backwards and forwards. And so I do push boundaries and break rules, but I know them. And I think some people just want to start with breaking the rules. Learn the rules, learn what you like, learn what you don't like, and then you can venture into pushing in those boundaries.
Well said. Well said. Very good stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. I do want to let you know that this episode of Anti-Quote and every episode of Anti-Quote is indeed powered by our good friends over there at Poddex. Now, check this. Poddex are the hottest, and I do mean red hot, hotter than the twin sons of Tatooine. New tool for podcast. See what I did there? New tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or simply gamify their podcast. You simply shuffle up the cards, you ask a question, and you let the content roll. Get yours today at poddex.com and use that promo code Ryan10. That's RYAN10, Ryan10 for 10% off your order. It's better than winning a hand at Sabak. Trust me on that, because most people cheat at Sabak anyway. We don't cheat here. With that being said, I can't help it. Star Wars-isms, they just come out sometimes.
Right?
What do you consider to be your greatest achievement, Derek?
I would say, hopefully, it's my objectivity, and maybe, well, hopefully, I'm objective by saying that, right? Or, I think, especially in today's environment, I think a lot of people have set ideas of a thing is this or a thing is that, a person is this or a person is that, and I think as a writer, um, one of your tools, one of your responsibilities is to look, and sometimes just look, listen before you speak, before you write, and just look at what's being presented to you from a person, from an entity, from a corporation, from the world. Digest that, evaluate it, how you think of your about it for yourself, and then if you want to write about it, then you can write about it. I think a lot of people, they adhere very quickly to a group that they are comfortable with or familiar with, and I think there are good and bad things on to do, or good and bad things with that. Sometimes there's complacency in just agreeing with the side that you think is the good guys, or the side that you agree with all the time. There's a complacency. So I think you have to constantly challenge yourself, and by being objective, you can look at things and say, well, I may agree with this group or this person, but you're wrong on this. And I think what that does as a writer, it presents to the reader, if you're writing something, it presents to the reader something that is more level, and a presentation of the world that is more realistic, even if it's in a science fiction setting. You're presenting something that feels, at least to the reader, hopefully more realistic, and kind of grounds the reader so that they can say, you know what? Yeah, I may be in the 24th century, or I may be in some, fantasy setting, but I see what Attico is doing, and he's grounding me, and I can feel a certain level of understanding and comfort in what he's doing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What characteristic are you most known for?
I've been told that I'm most known for, as a writer, I'm most known for stories that are definitely unusual, stories that take a right turn, things that are not stereotypical. They don't have tropes in them. Stories that you really can't predict what's going to happen, and that stories that really swing for the fences, and are really, really big stories, because I love the idea of ordinary people in extraordinary, or thrust into extraordinary circumstances.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
And which talent would you most like to have?
Oh my gosh, which talent would I most like to have?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Um, hmm, hmm. I think Probably, I would like to be able to sing. I mean, like to be a really good singer would be really great because then you could just like belt out something. That would be really nice. To be a really good singer, that'd be really great.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong
Right,
with a good tune every now and again.
right. Yeah.
What's just out of curiosity though? What's one of your favorite songs that you can listen to over and over again?
Oh my gosh, man. Well, I'm. It depends on my mood. Depends on my mood.
Happy mood. What would you go with?
You know what I like, and it's gonna be kind of corny, but I like. Well, I like all different kind of things. I like "Singing in the Rain" a lot.
Wow.
It's a really good song because about this guy. He's just in love, and he's singing in the rain. And the dance sequence, I love that. But it depends. It depends on my mood. It depends. But that just shout out to me just now. It's a good one.
Singing in the rain. Man, goodness. It takes us back to Princess Leia's own mother.
Right. That's right.
Being
That's right.
featured in the
It's
film.
an oldie. It's an oldie, but
You know what they say, right? It's an oldie but a goodie. So
it's an oldie but a goodie. It's a good one.
you can't go wrong with that. Who is your favorite hero of fiction that is not Benjamin Sisko?
Wow. Oh man. Favorite fictional hero, not Benjamin Sisko. Wow. That's a good one. Well, I think if I'm gonna be really honest, for a long time as a kid, and even now when I watch the films, it's still it's Luke Skywalker, man, because he came from nothing, and he was thrust into, and I think a lot of people could identify with that character of just being in a place where you don't see how you're going to get out of this, yeah, it was a little bit of that writing where like, oh, you're like the chosen one, or you're this, but I think what Lucas was really trying to tap into was to say like we're all special, we all have that, we just have to believe in ourselves, and that's why episode 4 was so great, was because it wasn't like it was Luke's story, but what it was really saying is, and what Star Wars really says, is that the new hope is us. It's in us, and Luke came from nothing, man. And he was desperate to get out. He would look out at those twin suns, and all he saw was he just wanted to get out and go. And so many people, you don't need twin suns to feel that, right? You don't need twin suns to feel that. You don't need to be on another planet to feel that. You can be, in the slums of Brazil. You can be in Harlem. You can be, you could be anywhere and feel that. And it's in you. And sometimes society tells you, just stay in your lane, but you got to pull it out of you. And I think that's why so many people identified with Luke and with Star Wars. And I think that's what made him such a great character and played so well by Mark Hamill.
Oh, totally. I mean, Binary Sunset by John Williams. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You see him looking over the horizon. You got the theme playing.
Right.
And, Lucas may or may not have said this in previous interviews, that the story of Luke in Star Wars, to a degree, is a reflection of the hero's journey by Joe Campbell. So,
right.
Person who's unknown, no one knows who he is. Wise sage comes in, says, "Hey, you're meant for something bigger than this," and he teaches him the ways of the Force. At least he gives him a bit of an introductory course before he's, not to give away a spoiler. That's 45 years old, by the way, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
46 years old.
Right.
I know, but hey, none of us age. So it was before my time. So hey, I got you beat on that one. But it's a great story. It truly is. And yeah, Binary Sunset, Twin Suns. God.
Yeah. And even though it's Hero with a Thousand Faces, Joseph Campbell. It's a great book, and it elevates Luke to a mythological status. But even if you strip all that down, it's a person that needs to believe in themselves and believe that they know what they have inside them. They know what they have inside them. And Joseph Campbell was talking about the arc, and he, he's 100% right. Joseph Campbell, 100% right. But I'm saying that there are people, I think why so many people identify with it, because they see themselves in it. They didn't know about the hero's journey, and that's what it was, I think. And as a kid, I didn't realize it, but I think as a teen and even as a young adult, I was like, yeah, Luke's story is pretty cool, because and Luke was always humble with it. Even when he became the Jedi he was still that farm boy. He never really became Anakin, right? He never and that is what saved him. Because once Anakin got the power, he run amok with it. He was what we would call flexing with his power. Luke was always humble with his power, which ultimately saved everyone. And I'm just going by the first 3 films. I'm not talking about anything else.
We can talk about the OG trilogy all day long. Trust me.
Right.
But hey, look at the bright side. At least Luke didn't have one of his friends saying in a what's it called? The next scene where he says, "Not even the youngling survived. I have seen a security hologram of him killing youngling." No, we don't talk about that trilogy. No, we don't. But there were a few little itty bitty little bright spots of the prequel trilogy. I'm looking at you, Phantom Menace. Thank you. But 2 and 3, no. It just doesn't work.
I liked the prequel series. I liked it. I mean, it had its hiccups.
Oh, believe me, it had more than just a few. I mean, listen, like I said, you, me, and whoever else is watching or listens, we can sit here for hours and hours and debate and discuss what worked in the original trilogy and what didn't work in the prequels. Even though a lot of people defend it, which I can see to a certain degree, I can understand why. But then again, I don't. I'm kind of pulling a Ryan Reynolds here, but why?
Well, you know what? I just really quick. I looked at it as from a writing standpoint. George Lucas hadn't written. I mean, he'd written other works, but in that universe, I mean, I have no idea. But it just seems to me that again, it's that whole writing muscle thing, and he's sitting on. I mean, I know he had written the outline, but you're actually sitting and writing down the final approved screenplay for Phantom Menace. He's doing it after how many years? And so
16.
everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody's going to be a little
16.
Right. You're going to be a little stiff. You have to work that muscle, and you can see the development. You can see Lucas loosen up from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, and by the time he gets to Revenge of the Sith feels so much like Empire, and it feels so much like New Hope, because he's been writing now he's been writing like almost 10 years, and he's been making those adjustments, and he's back in that world. So I understand that, and I had no problem with the things that we saw in Phantom Menace that was like, okay, but he's developing, and he's moving as a writer. That's what happens, so I was very forgiving is what I'm saying.
No, I got you. I mean, I go back, and I've done it, and I've stated this on a few other shows before, not to get off on a brief tangent here. I can watch Phantom Menace. I can rewatch that because we get Qui-Gon.
Right.
The relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, which is explored in even greater detail in a book called Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, one of the best Star Wars novels ever written in the history of books. If you want to read something that's Star Wars related, read Master and Apprentice about Qui-Gon, the early days, I should say, of the relationship that developed between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, because that book will melt your face. And I'm not talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark melting. It will literally melt your face with how good it is. I'm telling you. And Claudia Gray, if you're watching or listening to this, 2 thumbs way up. I love that book. But I can watch Phantom Menace because we get Duel of the Fates at the end with a Sith going up against 2 Jedi Knights, which we've never seen before.
Never seen before.
History of
right.
filmmaking, we've never seen that. So that works. Darth Maul, he gets sliced and diced at the end. And he basically was killed off prematurely. But they redeemed him in the Clone Wars. They redeemed him in Rebels, obviously. In Rebels,
Right.
they definitely redeemed that bad blank motherfracker. But and by the way, Sam Witwer as the voiceover, great guy. I've met him in person. Great guy. Sam Witwer, you're the man.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
He's great. He
He's
kills
great.
every
He's
single
great.
time. Anything that guy does can just turn to, just turn to bloody gold.
Right.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
It's good
Which,
stuff.
God, Star Wars. You know what, Derek? I got to be honest with you, and we can talk more about this later. But we may need to bring you back for some
Oh
more
yeah,
Star Wars.
man. Anytime,
I
man.
think we're going to need to bring you into the fold here because I'm
Yeah,
sensing,
man.
I'm sensing a really good disturbance in the force here, and I think that's good for business. So I'm going to talk to you in the green room a little bit later on. But
All right.
Poddex wants to know, they're very curious here. Poddex wants to know, which living person do you admire the most?
Whoo! Wow, living person. It would probably be, and I'm probably gonna. Well, I mean, other than my mom, who's incredible, but I understand the nature of the question. It would probably be, and I'm probably gonna butcher her name, um, Malawa Alawi, because she's an incredible human being. She's an incredible woman. I mean, she's going to school, um, in her homeland, shot in the face for it, survives that, and then continues to speak for women's rights, gets the Nobel, and is like, what? Now I'm going to be a spokesperson for human rights, women's rights, and for everything, right in the world. I mean, the incredible amount of bravery, whenever someone's voice, whenever someone tries to silence someone's voice in this world, and that person has the temerity, courage, and strength to say, no, you're not, I'm going to speak up, and then thrive after that, I have so much respect and admiration for. So I think it would most definitely be her for sure. She's an incredible human being.
I'm not familiar with this individual, but you can tell a little bit more about this person to me a little bit later on. But that sounds great. Wish that person the best. Everything that they've done, everything they're going to accomplish, all that kind of jazz. And you know what else? I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. And I do mean this. Thank you, sincerely, to Derek Tyler Attico for being our guest on this episode of And I Quote. Derek, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Where can the person who is watching or listening to this follow you on social media and keep up to date with all the incredible things that you got going on, where clearly you are going to boldly go where no one, and I mean no one, has gone before? Where can they keep up to date with that?
Well, at least we know Derek has gone before. You can find me on my website, derekattico.com, or you can find me on social media at dattico, DATTICO, on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, and Threads. Just look under my name, Derek Tyler Attico, or D Attico, and you'll find me. And the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, it comes out October 10th. And you can pre-order now. And if you're a Star Trek fan, or even if you're not a Star Trek fan, I think if you like anything about Star Trek, this is written for you. I think you'll enjoy it.
That is awesome sauce. And we wish you nothing but success.
Thank you, man.
With that, moving forward, thank you for being here. Derek, I will talk to you in just a moment. My name is Ryan of Neuroculture. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. All the links to where you can follow us are located within the description of this video, as well as our other videos on our YouTube channel and all our social media channels, respectively. I want to let you know we got some great things coming up. We talked about it a little while ago, talking about Star Wars. Hey, Ahsoka's weekly mission, first episode, goes live Thursday night, August the 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have some special guests joining us. Maybe not. I don't know if this newcomer known as Derek Tyler Attico wants to bring his best lightsaber skills to the table and talk about some Star Wars isms with us. I don't know. We'll have to talk a little bit more about that later. But also, Movie Anniversary Watch Along. Our next one is going to be live on Monday, August the 21st. We're going to be celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Marvel film known as Blade, starring Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dwarf, Chris Christopherson, among many other fine actors and actresses on Monday night, August 21st, 8 p.m. EST. Check that out. And then a week from that Monday, I want to be perfectly clear, this is going to be on Monday night, August the 28th. Power Rangers, that's right. One of the most popular franchises in the history of media turns a very healthy and good-looking 30 on Monday night, August 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. All the links are located in the description of this video, as well as on our social media channels where you can follow us there. This is going to be more phenomenal. We're going to have a lot of special guests. We're going to have some new guests joining the fray. They're going to be sharing their thoughts on some of their favorite moments, some of their favorite characters, some of their favorite seasons. Anything and everything Power Rangers is fair game, and we're going to celebrate it in more phenomenal, grand style. So stay tuned to our social media channels. All that stuff is coming your way very, very soon. And once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and I know we can do it. We can do it together as a team. Once we hit 1,000, we are going to throw the biggest and most electrifying live stream that Dwayne The Rock Johnson and YouTube.com have ever seen in their lives. We're going to have returning guests. We're going to have surprise guests and special giveaways for you, our incredible subscribers and fans. But it's up to you to make it work. We can get there. We're at 820 right now. If we hit once we hit 1,000, we're going to celebrate like we've never celebrated before. So why don't you tell your friend? Because they're going to tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and so on and so on and so on. You know how these things go. Indie supports indie. That's how we do it around here. So don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Ring that notification bell so you get notified, when the new videos go live and go up. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. Life is better when reading and supporting other independent creators of all kinds. Take a look at this.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Sweet dreams they placed on me inside my mind. Chance my truth, twist the past, my memories are fading fast. Am I still missed? Who do you want me to be? Am I still missed?
Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Good morning. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.